Hey YouTube viewers, Yankee Blue here, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be giving another defensive tip. So something that we touched on in the last video about defense was talking about using a base formation and then a base coverage to be able to make adjustments and be able to basically force our opponent into making mistakes by staying in our base formation, our base coverage, and making adjustments out of that based on the tendencies of our opponent. So with that in mind, the next tip that I want to give you guys, the next concept that I want to show you guys and see if it's something that you guys feel will help you if you're trying to get better at defense. I started messing around in the lab in the practice mode and trying to think of some different ways that I can use some of the concepts we've already talked about as far as a base coverage and then making adjustments off of that. And what I found as I was practicing was that there's a concept that I kind of stumbled upon. I'm sure it's used by a higher level Madden players or people that are really good at the game. It's just something I stumbled upon while I was playing and realized that it has quite a bit of an advantage as far as defense, especially against specific sets. So the concept that I want to talk about today is what I'm basically going to call, in my own words, is coverage swapping. So what that's going to entail is switching the coverage behind you, swapping, say, a linebacker who's not as mobile, not as fast, and swapping a coverage with a DB in order to be able to user a faster player and have an advantage on defense. It's going to make you much more versatile on defense, and it's going to have a huge impact, and I'll show you what I mean in a second here. So we'll go in and jump in, and the formation that I want to talk about that you would face is going to be, we're going to talk about kind of like, we'll do shotgun formations, and what we'll do is like a trips formation, or let's see what else, whether, you know, these trips formations or these tray formations. So for the benefit of this, I'm going to go into a trips formation. And what that basically means is when we look at this right here, that formation, so having, you know, two wide receivers and a tight end on the right side of the formation. So in this sense, the strong side of the formation. We'll break that down another time about formations, but for right now, just understand, like, a formation, a trips formation, is basically having three receivers on the right hand side, the right of screen of the formation. So this is a very typical formation. There's different variations of this, but a lot of the shotgun formations that you're going to see, and even in single back formations, you're going to see a lot of variations of this. And this is the first formation that I want to kind of cover and show you how coverage swapping can be beneficial for you. So go into that, and I'm just going to grab, let's see what we want to grab here. I'll go ahead and grab this cowboy sail because it's a flood concept on the right hand side, having that that corner route, a flat route, and then a streak. And I'm going to show you why this is really important. So we're going to pick that for the play that we're going to be up against, and then I'm just going to go into a 4-3 under, a very base defense, and I'm going to show you how, utilizing coverage swapping, you're going to be able to use a formation that's primarily a run stopping formation, that facing a trips, like a 3 wide receiver, 1 tight end, 1 running back formation, you're going to be able to utilize this and not really be forced out of it using the strategy that I'm going to talk about. So we'll go into this, and what I'm going to pick up, you know, we'll start off in the sand blitz too, because that's kind of my base run formation that I like to do. So the concept that I want to go over here is, so we have McLean here, and we can user him, and usering linebackers is a good thing to do, especially when you're first starting off in a little yellow zone, because it's low risk. You're going to be in a position where it's not going to give the big play. Using a safety out of a coverage formation like this, like if I were to user Wilcox, Then I've got the threat of a vertical route by Williams. I mean, there's adjustments that I could make to make that a little bit safer for me. But if we were to just select a user and be like, well, hey, I'm going to user this guy, there's not a lot of receivers on this side, we're at risk of making a huge mistake. Even if we were to make the one adjustment of putting our corner there on Williams on a deep, with us bailing out and trying to do stuff over here, where a majority of the coverage or the things that we'd have to worry about are over on the right hand side, we're going to have to bail out pretty far to do that. And we're just going to be leaving ourselves open for some big plays down the field. Same thing's true if we make no adjustments and we user church. I mean, if you're a very experienced player and have a lot of confidence in your ability to kind of sit back and then attack, that's certainly something you can do. I think a lot of really good defensive players utilize that kind of strategy. But I want to kind of come from the approach of that we're still learning how to use her, and we're trying to get better, and we're going to make mistakes. So we want to be able to utilize guys that don't put us at a lot of risk. So utilizing the linebacker is a good way to do that to start off with, to kind of get you more comfortable with using, but not be at a huge disadvantage or give up anything huge on the defensive side of the ball. But what I've noticed as I user defend, and I've been using linebackers for quite a while now, that's kind of been my thing because I feel safest doing that, is that you're really going to be at a disadvantage of how aggressive you can be on defense, meaning how, and it's also the margin of error is much smaller. The reason being is that most of your linebackers, until you start playing MUT or something like that, and you really have some really stud players in your lineup, you're going to be at an extreme disadvantage because most linebackers are not very fast. Most of them, very few, have really, really good stats as far as catching and things like that, things that are going to help you when you're trying to ball hawk. So the speed and then the ability to pick off a pass is going to be a little bit more difficult with a linebacker. That's what I've noticed. And then because of that speed disadvantage, if you have to change directions, basically if you take the wrong angle at a route, you're almost out of the play. I've just noticed I miss a lot of plays by inches because you really have to be with a linebacker that's slower. Changing direction and things like that is going to be very difficult, and it's basically one move, and if you miss it, you're out of the play. You might chase your guy down or whatever, but if you make a wrong angle, it's done. You can't really do anything else. You're going to be out of the play. And they're going to make the play, and you were like almost right there. I just had so many times where I was almost right there, and then I didn't get it. So the thing that I've noticed was that how do I get in a position where I can use a player that's much faster and probably has better stats for like ball hawking and things like that, that's just going to make my job a little bit easier. And then I'm going to also, the other part of this is being in a position of having leverage on defense. And let me explain to you what I mean. So the linebacker starts off down here, and unless you physically want to move him into a different place, he's going to start off somewhere down in here, close to the line of scrimmage. And what I'm noticing, it's really a double-edged sword as far as the disadvantage that you have when you use the linebacker. One is from the get-go, you're going to be a little bit slower. Your margin for mistakes is a lot less. And then also the position you are on the field, the depth at which you're at in the field. Depending on the route combinations, things like that, you're going to have to make a lot of adjustments, kind of float, and then try to getting the level of routes, like if there's a drag coming across the field, and then you're trying to do that and then get back if there's a higher route, or vice versa, starting off up here and then trying to change back direction and get back down here. It's just really difficult unless you have a lot of experience using and getting really good at kind of moving your guy around. It's just this position for somebody starting off trying to user, it's really difficult. You can get turned around really easily. It's hard to hop back and forth between routes and at the same time try to get in a position to make a play on the ball. It takes a lot of experience to be able to do that, and thus far I've just noticed that I'm at an extreme disadvantage with where I'm at on the field, and then those speed disadvantages that we talked about too. So that's what I've seen as being the issue for trying to use our linebacker. And that's when I came to this conclusion, is that there has to be, I want to try a different way to get somebody faster, like using a free safety to make plays, but still not give up coverage as much. So that's the concept there, and I'm going to show you exactly what I mean here, guys, in this next little section here. So that leads us to, how can I user this player but not give up deep coverage and put myself in a position? How can I make this more low risk for me and utilize the benefit of having a faster player and being on a better spot in the field? And by better spot in the field, I mean you start up here. And the biggest difference between this position, being in this position, and being in this position is the time that you have to react. It really is, guys, because here you have to make decisions a lot faster. Depending on the route combination, there's always going to be shallow routes, and there's going to be vertical routes over top of those, depending on what type of player your opponent's running. So you really have to make decisions really quick here. You really have to be confident with your user, and if you want to start off back, then you're going to have to compensate if there's another route underneath, and it just really takes a lot of good stick skills to be able to do that. What I think is beneficial about this position is that you start off up here. Everything is below you. It's almost all one direction of moving that you're going to have to do. Everything you're going to be doing is going to be starting from the top, and you're headed in one direction. Now the angles that you take are going to be different, but this allows you, you're just up here. You've got a bird's eye view of everything, and you can attack in one direction. You're not really going to have to worry too much unless you're super aggressive. You're not going to have to worry about this. Starting off somewhere, going somewhere, and then having to go, oh shoot, I got to get back. Because you start off in a really beneficial position. You are seeing everything happen. Everything is in front of you, and you have that distance from here to there gives you more time to make a decision, and you're going to make a much better decision. And I'll show you what I mean here when we swap. So the concept we're talking about is swapping coverage to get a little bit more bang for our buck on defense with speed, being able to catch the ball, and being able to take, it's going to simplify the decisions that we have to make as far as a user defender. So this is the concept, guys. It can be used out of any coverage that you want to. I'm just using this one as an example, and at the end of this I'll show you a gameplay video where after I was in practice mode, I went in and played a game, and I made a user play within the first defensive series. That's very rare for me, guys. It doesn't happen very often, but what I noticed was this concept really does work. So here's how I'm going to show you guys. So coverage swapping is just this. So I have Church in a deep blue, and I want to user him, but I don't want to lose my coverage to that deep part of the field. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to take McLean, I'm going to put him in the deep blue, and I'm going to user Church. Now it doesn't matter what zone Church is in. It really doesn't. I'll put him in the yellow for the sake of this, but it honestly doesn't matter. You don't have to make that adjustment. For the sake of this, it really doesn't matter. So what happens is that when the play starts, McLean's going to bail back, and he's going to replace Church in the position above there. Now, obviously, Church is a safety. It's going to be more beneficial. He's going to play it a little bit better from a CPU standpoint, and just like play rec and stuff like that for those type of things. But what I'm going to tell you is that depending on the coverage that you start off with, the base coverage that you start off with, the deep blue coverage doesn't matter. You just need a body there to account for anything that's deep. That's going to be like maybe one or two type of routes, and he's going to do a decent enough job to get the job done. He's going to do enough for you to, depending on what type of routes your opponent's throwing, he's going to do a decent enough job back there, backing up to just take away that deep risk. We're just trying to stop basically like the deep streak or something like that, something really deep that could burn us real bad if we were to just pull church out of coverage and not make any adjustments. So that's really what it's about. And for this, why I talk about a trips formation like this, with the exception of like 3 actual wide receivers in a trip formation, if there's a tight end here, the route that I'm really worried about when I'm in this cover 2 is a streak to Witten in the slot. That's what I'm really worried about. And what I'm doing is, by doing a coverage swap, is putting a linebacker on Witten. That's ideal. That's a decent matchup. Witten's a pretty good tight end, really good, but he's not super fast. And the position that McLean's in, he's going to be able to follow him back. He's not going to get burned. It's not like I'm putting McLean on Bryant and asking him to run down the field with him. In this situation, with this type of a formation, with a tight end on that right of screen at the line of scrimmage, it's a good matchup, and I can now utilize somebody who's faster to make many more plays on the field. And I'll kind of show you how this plays out. And then you can play with coverage how you want to protect against certain things. So with McLean back here, I'm just throwing him back there to stop Witten from a streak. So you might want to also, just as a quick thing, if you were really worried about it, you might want to either man up your other corner or drop him in deep blue, just to limit the things that can burn you, because obviously we don't want to keep him in cover 2. So that's just one idea that you can use on that. Or you can go from a base cover 4 so that you don't have to make all the adjustments. And here, I'll show you guys. I'll go into a cover 3 just so that this demonstration is a little bit easier and you won't have to make as many adjustments. So from the cover 3, I'm going to make the same type of adjustment. I'm going to swap McLean for Church so that I can utilize him and just maximize what I can do on the field and put myself in a position where I'm going to be able to make plays. So, and we can see here, so with McLean in the position he's out of the field and on that deep blue, he's going to defend. If there's a streak play there, we're going to have McLean there to defend. And one other thing we might do based on what we're seeing, what we're seeing from the formation, what we want to think about is, first of all, we might want to, when the ball first snaps, we might want to stay in here. And this is what I do normally during the plays, is when the ball is snapped, I just flick my left stick a little bit just to give me some movement, so that once the play starts, I'm just sitting down. And then I've got my thumb on the left stick and I'm waiting as the play develops. And I have time, guys, because if there are vertical routes, it's going to take them a minute to get to me. And I'm going to be looking. So the only vertical routes that I'm worried about is Witten and Bryant, because if Beasley's on a vertical, I have coverage right there. I really don't have to worry about that. So I have that covered. What I'm worried about is Witten and Bryant, because in this situation, you can see the gap before I do anything. If we just look at the play art, you can see there's a huge gap in here. Now, the cool thing about this is that I get to sit back here because I know that McLean's going to drop back, and we're swapping. I'm going to take his spot on the field, but I don't have to 100% because I have time. I have time to read and react the play because I'm back here now, and I'm going to get to be much more aggressive because I have coverage behind me. I have deep coverage if something goes wrong. So in this case, what I'm looking at here is I'm basically going to be making reads as if I was on offense. I'm going to watch to see what happens with Bryant and Witten. I'm looking for Bryant first. I might even slide a little bit over so that I have time. But basically, I'm going to see if Bryant is on a vertical route. If he is, I'm gonna stay with it. Now I can make this even easier for myself, and I can say, you know what, I don't even want to worry about Bryant. So we could do that. That would be an easy adjustment as well. So now all I really have to worry about is this little area in here, and mainly Witten. But I have a deep blue by McLean that's going to follow him a little bit. I would just have to help out if something went terribly wrong or there was a route I didn't account for. But that's kind of the cool thing about this, is that I'm in a position now where I can do whatever I want. I can stop certain things. So like in this case, let's just say this. In this spot with the verticals, if we snap this ball and I do that, and then I see I can break on that ball and make plays. Let's go into replay here.
Get ready.
And here's what we'll see when we go into replay. So I look, I see everybody's on vertical routes. Now I respond a little bit late, guys, because I'm using 2 controllers here, but you can see, like, I can immediately, I have time and I can make a decision. Everything else is covered. I can go after that route, and I have help. That's the other great thing too, guys. It's like I have help on the field. I'm out there and I can make plays. I can attack things. That's like the most powerful thing about this, guys. Is see how he's streaking? Like, McLean's up there. Like, McLean, like, if that's just a regular streak, like, yeah, my opponent might get like inside pass lead or something like that, but I'm gonna see it too. I'm right there. I can make a play on the ball. And then it's the verticals route. Like, I can get over. I cut a little bit late there, but if I identify that, I'm in there. I get to make a play on the ball. So that's kind of the power, and I'll show you a different way how this is really effective too. So the other part of this is we'll go back to the base play that we, okay, so sail. And basically what I want to talk about is route concept, guys, and what you're going to see the most of, and what you're going to see, how you're going to get it attacked, specifically when you're in zone coverage. So this is going to be very common. There's going to be a deep corner route, a vertical route, and then a flat route. And it just chews up, you know, your zone coverage is. It's going to eat you alive. And if you sit in just a stock coverage, you're going to be in trouble. So this goes back to let's route swap and see what we can do in this situation, and how you're going to see how quickly, just by making that one adjustment and then making reads after the play. Like, watch. True, I know what play is coming right now, guys, but I'm just going to read and react, and you're going to be able to see how I can make a reaction on the ball, and I'm just going to be able to make just much better decisions. So snap the ball, I just kind of move, and I'm waiting. Now I see that flat route, and I can just attack. Guys. Like, that wasn't the greatest user tutorial, but I'll show you what I mean in replay. So if we go into replay and we see I start at the top and I do that thing, I just flick my stick real quick, and then I'm sitting and I'm waiting, and I get to just watch the route combinations that come through. So I can see there's a vertical from Beasley, and I'm watching that slot too, and I can see there's no vertical coming from there. It's a flat route. I have a defender there. Now it becomes watching. Now I can solely focus on Witten and what he's doing. And obviously and here's the other thing too, guys, is like, when you start to see that, when you see a vertical and a flat, like, you can immediately assume, like, okay, there's probably going to be a corner out there. And you can see, like, I can just bail. I can go and do things. Like, obviously he could have broken inside, but we have coverage to the inside too. But that's what I mean, guys, is just you can wait for a route and you can sit on it, because you're in a very, very advantageous situation. By knowing what your base coverage is and where you're weak, you can wait and look for specific routes and go, okay, I know that's where they're going to throw the ball because that's where I'm weak. And you can just start off, you're reading their offense and what they're running, because like I said, you start off from right and you kind of move in as the play develops. You want to see, just to make sure that there's no crazy route by Beasley, but as soon as he starts running something like a vertical, after a few steps, you just go, okay, I'm not on that. The next thing you're worried about is a vertical from Bryant. And then you start to see him do that, and he's in a flat route, you know, okay, like, that doesn't threaten me, because I can come down for that play and help out if I need to. That's not the play I'm worried about. Now it moves over to Witten. The attention moves over to Witten, and he kind of gives his play away, and he's breaking the outside. Now we can just run into that spot and wait and make a play. And that's really just the power of what you can do when you cut what I call coverage swap. Replace your coverage with somebody else, because it's not that big of a deal. As far as coverage goes, if you're in a trips formation where the tight end is in the seam there, like, you can swap these out and now I'm much more versatile. There's so many more things I can do, and obviously, like, it's more beneficial if you don't have to worry about anything over there. I mean, the worst thing you might have to worry about is maybe if Beasley's on an out route or something like that. But again, we can make adjustments for that, and it's all based on the tendencies of our opponent. So that's kind of the concept, guys, that I was talking about. And like I said, I'm going to show you a video at the end of this. There's going to be a clip of basically like a, I don't know, it's like a 3-4 play series the first time my opponent had the ball, and I had just started to utilize this strategy in my base defense, and I end up getting a user pick out of it, guys, because what ended up happening was I'm not going to run the play or anything like that. Well, I'll let you guys see it, but basically what ended up happening was I made my reads on defense. That's how powerful this is, guys, to be able to sit up here and know that you don't have to cover the deep ball, but just sit here and react and wait for something to happen and then make a play. Was that the play developed, my opponents, the routes that were going to hurt me the most were covered with a player running with them, and I saw the play develop. I saw what was open, what he could throw to, and I was able to take an angle and be very aggressive and make a play on the ball. And I end up getting a user pick, and that's just something that doesn't happen a lot to me, but I realized when I was doing this, when I did the coverage swap with another player and utilized this free safety, it makes your decision making so much easier, guys, and you're only traveling in one direction, so you can really commit to a route or a play because you see it developing in front of you, and you know it's either going to be down and to the right, you know, and or just straight down, or like, you know, left down. You're going to be able to just kind of float, lurk a little bit, see a play and break on it and go get it. It's amazing, guys. I'll show you the clip at the end of this. You guys will see it. It's a little like 3-4 play series against this guy I was playing online, and I'm telling you guys, I'm not that great at usering, but this makes me better because I don't have to make a lot of decisions. I just have to make some simple reads, just like I would if I was on offense, and then attack the spot that I know that they're going to go to. I'm telling you guys, try it out. Do this. Swap somebody out in your defense in zone coverage, swap one of your blue safeties, and I would highly recommend on the side of the field where this also lets you utilize the side of the field where there's going to be the most action, where there's going to be the most happening, where you're going to be able to make the biggest impact on defense as a user. You know, we talked about before about being safe and being over here. That's fine, and I think it's a really great tip for if you're first starting out, because this doesn't hurt you too bad. You can be in here, there's not a lot of receiver responsibilities, and you can wait for things to happen too and make plays. It's good, but I'm telling you guys, this coverage swapping to get a faster player and be in a position where you have more time to react, it's what defense in Madden's all about. I'm telling you guys, like, try it out. It's going to improve your defense a great deal, and this is something that's going to work in Madden 16 right now, and it's going to be something that you can use that's going to be effective in Madden 17. So, all right, you guys, this is Yankee Blue. Again, the concept I'm kind of talking about is the coverage swap, swapping a slower player for a faster player in a better position to make plays on the ball, and it's going to allow you to be more aggressive on defense and make more plays. So, please, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Smash like if you do. I appreciate you guys watching. This is Yankee Blue. We'll see you next time.